Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
Good morning, everybody. Hold on a second. There we go. So, it's Monday. It's November. Still government shutdown. It's a shutdown that never ends, folks. I'm not going to start singing. I thought about singing, but no. Let's come over. I'm kind of, my workspace is a little bit messed up, so we're going to have to fix that. But let's come and look at the charts first. Volume profile. Here's the treasuries. So we keep seeing this kind of like they start out on the down foot and then they recover. So we'll see where that goes. But for now, the treasuries are on the downside. So within the range, here's the S&P 500. They had some end of month selling here, I think, especially going into the close. You can see really, really hard selling. But now we're in November, so we'll see where we go from there. I am concerned that that earnings are not looking so good. And I'm also concerned that, you know, after the holidays, we're going to get a lot more layoffs. And so the November-December period for equities might not be quite as strong as this. Okay. Oil. It's doing okay. It's going sideways. Silver and gold do seem to have found a base here. Copper also kind of ranging in past few days. Japanese yen. Well, okay. The Japanese yen looks like they want to go for a step lower. I mean, if the treasuries went lower or the Japanese went lower, it could be ugly. But you are seeing pretty strong rise in the dollar that is not accompanied by a change in the yen, so it's probably coming from the euro. We can take a look at that if we need to. But this is an interesting development, and if we see the dollar back at 100, it'd be fun. And then Bitcoin, well, they're doing okay, but they are testing the lower end of their range. So that's what we got. Okay, so I need to find all of my little windows here. So where is ZB? Oh dear, have we lost them? There you are. Boom. Okay. That all looks good. Now the next thing is our price indicator, what our volatility projected range is bugged. It looks like something about the month change and the way that I programmed this is not. So I already feel bad because if Uzi comes in, he's going to be looking at me like, no, it doesn't work, Seth. Okay. Oh. Custom indicators. You're still doing it manually? Yeah, okay. Oh, that's not where we wanted to go. Okay, HX. ZN volatility. Let's see what it put in. Okay, so it did get a day. It puts it at 12 a.m. instead of 0, but that doesn't matter. 4.28 isn't too bad. All things considering. I mean, it's not good. We'd like to see it above 5, but it's not. I don't know. I'm concerned that we could go below 4. It would be like... Okay, there's got to be something else. What else? Well, so first of all, where is my output window? And if I refresh, does it? It doesn't print everything. That's interesting. Oh, probably because I didn't put the debug on it. Debug. I have to implement the ATM strategy for my DOM all by myself. Darn, I thought I could use the template from NinjaTrader, but it's not that easy. So I can make it. Yeah, you can do a lot of complicated things if you get into the... I've honestly never found that stuff incredibly necessary. So I thought maybe it was about the month change, but now I'm thinking maybe actually it's just the weekend that like it's not loading 3 full days. And yeah. I don't know why that breaks it. Yeah, all of the numbers are zeros. So probably what's happening is you know what? I think we're going to have to Visual Studio this. You have like 10 seconds, right? Yeah, but like then shouldn't you be doing the whole thing automated? Okay, so if this is doing what I think it's doing, man, I'm hot. I'm gonna be sweaty and smelly all day, probably. Hmm? Okay. So that told me something interesting. It was, I have, you know, there's this stuff that's like on the very first bar is kind of a different one because you can't look at previous value and everything. So you have to deal with that. And that did not do anything. Why do you always retract your messages? Anyways, so it's not that initial bar. It must be that somewhere later on, the calculations are coming out to be 0. Oh. Oh, hold up. The first bar session never gets called? Hold on. Oh, wait. These ones are being set correctly. No, they're not being set correctly, but they're being... Hold on. Oh, maybe we don't need this. Maybe we just need this and this. And this. Just a little extra return statement that shouldn't have been there. Yeah, okay, that fixes that. Ta-da. Okay. All right. Do my levels still look correct, Doozy? Downside target for regular session 112.17 and overnight session 19.5. Cool. Yeah, I had it set so that on the first bar, it just set everything to 0 and then returned. And so that was screwing it all up. And so it was always screwing that up on the first day. But because we have a situation where if you go to last session, it was over the weekend, and then NinjaTrader doesn't write. So we didn't see that error until it was the weekend. But that should fix that. I'm also wondering, though, I also kind of want to come in here. We got this bit that like draws the text. I want that to happen twice. Because we can never see it on our chart, you know? Let's see here. That should do it. Except for that, in this time, it should be reg up. Any idea how you can use options as an... What do you mean by that? Like option volume? Well, I'm sure that you could apply all of the same principles that we use in order flow to the options if you had the data. But you have to actually pay for the data. I think if you could see when we're having a move here and we're seeing a change in cumulative delta, and then you see where in the options that volume is happening to, would probably tell you a lot of information. Where do you find this data? There's a bunch of places. I'm not really familiar with them, to be honest, because I've never wanted to pay for that. So that whole thing right there was just a good example of why when you make an indicator, you don't immediately put it out. You wait, you put it on your chart and you use it for a couple of weeks first. Because that was kind of silly mistakes. Not silly mistakes. Like, the thing that's really interesting about NinjaTrader is that there's these issues that will come up every time. And it seems like no matter how much experience you have and how much you try to anticipate them, you'll still deal with at least one of them. Because the whole dealing with this session and everything is complicated, essentially. I kind of wish that their methods were a little bit different, because it's basically like they give you this session iterator and that should be flexible enough to do everything. But really, what do people want to know? Is it the start of a new session? What day is it today? Like, is it the start of a new month? Is it the start of a new contract? Like, that's the thing that really actually matters. And they should have methods that say that. Is it today is first day of month or whatever it is, right? Or first day of week, rather than having to use the session iterator and figure it out yourself. Or a method to say, is it this time? Well, since the open, we have been trading this 2-tick range. It wouldn't surprise me if they were to make another push down and make an attempt at the 17. That's kind of what they did on Friday, right? But, well, and let's see here, because we got so stuck up with that, I didn't really do my rundown properly. Okay, so we have ISM manufacturing today at 8 o'clock. So we're likely to be really constrained until that. No auctions or anything, though. 3-month auction. Some Fed speakers later in the day, Dally. Goldman Trading Desk sees early signs of explosive move. Let them eat LLMs. I don't know. So the thing that I find really perplexing about this particular market environment is that I constantly feel like everybody's trying to gaslight us. You know? Like, there are some real serious problems in this economy. Bessent over the weekend saying that I will fall into a deeper recession if we don't get lower interest rates. Bessent basically saying, like, we're already in a recession. Well, I don't know if technically we're in a recession or not. We could be. But in certain sectors, we certainly are. Right? So for Bessent to say that, I think is a pretty significant shift. Again, it's like all of a sudden the past 2 or 3 weeks, the administration has suddenly become more concerned about the economy. And like saying, let's put China trade war on pause. Right? So there's problems out there. And then there's all of these people, you go online and they're like, oh, everything's fine. Like this weekend, I came across two. One of them really made me mad for some reason. But there's this one influencer that they decided to quit their job this week. They're like, I hadn't really tested the market that hard. I feel pretty confident that I should be able to come in and get a job pretty easily. I thought it was really weird because, again, it was one of these things that really irks me, where I see these people. I guess it doesn't really irk me. It's just I always see it and I notice it and just kind of move on because I don't care. But I see all of these people becoming quote-unquote tech influencers that have less experience and know less about it than me. It's just, I should have become a tech influencer is what I should have done, folks, not trading. There you go. Yeah, and they're selling coaches. So there was this, she said she didn't really, it was a girl. She hadn't really tested the market and all of this sort of stuff. And I was just like, I'm really, really concerned because I think they were a pretty good influencer. Like I liked their content and everything, but I think they're way underestimating this market, man. It's just crazy. I think there's a lot of people out there that think, well, I'm cracked. I shouldn't have any problem getting in. I work for Google or whatever. And no, it's a nightmare. And their problem is that there's like dozens of, any job that you apply for, there's like dozens of other people that were also at Google applying to that job. So don't underestimate it. But then there was another one where he was like, people are saying that the market is cooked and it's not. And I just felt like that was such an irresponsible thing. Because like you're saying it online, people are making decisions based off of what you say. And there is something real going on in the market, especially for tech workers, that we just can't deny, right? But yeah, like Big Toasty is saying, like if you're selling coaching, kind of gives you an incentive to say that the market isn't cooked, because if the market is cooked, then who's going to buy your course, The guy over me just quit last week because he's making more money off of his TikTok lives. But what is he selling from TikTok lives? Because I get the impression that there's a lot of people that they can have like hundreds of thousands of followers and they don't make squat from it. And that you have to come in and be like, and they've almost like changed the platform to where if you're not selling people on TikTok Shop and making commissions from TikTok Shop, that it's really hard to make money from now. And that all of the, like a lot of the brand kind of deals and stuff that people used to do have dried up. He just talks to a bunch of, well, so wait, what's his niche then? They pay him money to talk and say different things. That's actually really, it's weird. I'm a little nervous, to be honest with you, because I'm hearing that YouTube Shorts now makes more revenue than YouTube itself. Oh, okay. So he's like he's just a guy that girls like talking to for some reason. Yeah. Okay. Man, this reminds me of the whole AI boyfriend thing. Like, we don't have any stats on this, so this is entirely speculation. I'm not saying this to like create controversy or anything like that. It's just we're gonna see where the market's gonna go, and I have an idea of where it's gonna go, and I'm gonna bet you that one gender is using AI companions more than the other gender. I thought long content media was more profitable. Well, so when I said that, what I mean is that Google themselves makes more money from shorts than from long form content. I can't confirm that myself. That this was just the discussion that I was seeing people have on a podcast. And they were concerned because that could kill long form content, right? And well, it could kill the creator economy because short form content is not as consistent, essentially, right? Like you can have a YouTube channel, you get a certain number of subscribers, and you get like videos that are established and everything. People will search and you'll get like a stream of traffic from those. But with shorts, it's like you have to come in and make, especially with TikTok, it's like you have to come in and make content every day, and then the audience will come and go. So it's hard to have this like a vibrant economy that you've had on YouTube of people that, you know, are creators, and it's created this whole creator ecosystem. Short form content is kind of like cannibalizing it and making it so that the only ones that really make money from it are the super top creators and the platform themselves. And in my opinion, it's all intended to get people to buy on TikTok Shop, because in China that's been massively successful. They want it to happen here in the US. Yeah, Facebook. I've heard at times that Facebook was doing good for creators, and then it kind of dies out, and did not hear about that. And you know, because it really is. It's so like one of the things that I've been noticing, like you know, the YouTube channel Linus Tech Tips. I think that's probably one of the most visible. Like you get to see the machinations of what's going on behind that channel and everything. And they've been bleeding talent. Like a number of major people involved in that channel went off and made their own channel. I do wonder if he really wasn't paying them as much as, you know, the people that are being featured in the videos, and you're just giving them like $70K a year, then yeah, maybe they would go off on their own. But it also seems to me like that there was a controversy that they lost sponsors, and I think that they blame it on that controversy, but like a lot of that also happened at the same time as the interest rates were going up and everything. So, you know, and a lot of creators also kind of before things started going down, kind of like retired. I don't think that creators are making as much as they did right now. Probably will change sometime when interest rates get lower, but right now I don't think that they're making as much money. And even these people that were like, I'll teach you how to get into Google or whatever. Which again, I think that whole thing is dumb. I don't feel like that those courses really give you something that you can't just go and find on a GitHub repository. But it's just, there's so many people that are like, no, everything's fine. Like, really, there is. So there's a lot of controversy. I think part of it was, remember the whole vibe session thing? Remember, and people are like, well, like all of the data looks good, but people don't feel good about it. But then, like, later on, the data did come out and they revised all of the jobs numbers and everything. And we found out that actually, yeah, we were in a recession at the time. We were in a mini recession, and then they cut interest rates, and that kind of pulled us out of it a little bit until we fell back in. So it wasn't a vibe session. It was just a mini recession. Now, on that note, AI has been kind of propping the market up, right? Is November the month where that comes out? I'm not so sure. We did get, we are kind of moving to the upside in the equities, by the way. Nice move from the ES, you say? Oh, by the way, you know what? I don't think I ever added our indicator to ES. We should do that. Now that we've fixed that and everything. Projected range here. We'll put it on. Let's see if it gets it. It's able to pull it. $15.06. Interesting. I'm going to change some things here. Zero opacity. And the start is actually 7:30. Equities. Yeah. Oh, I did it wrong. Opacity needs to be 100, not 0. You didn't see any move at or any news at 7. I didn't either. You're right. There's something weird going on there. But. Well, something weird is going on there. I have to sort out what that is because it printed too. It doesn't handle the multi. Oh, is this because this is on a multi-session template? Yeah, it is. So let's take it off of this one. Wait, what is this one on? It's using instrument settings. So let's remove it from this one. But how is it getting 14.99? Or maybe we shouldn't put it on that one. We should put it over on like this one. On the other screen. Be 1 minute. Yeah. Amazon, NVIDIA announcement at the top of the hour. Yeah, I think that would probably would explain it. Better. So where is it getting the number from? Apparently I've pulled it a few times. Well, you know, I didn't hear the news event, but I think it's only natural that it was gonna be something about AI, right? For a reaction that strong. I did not hear anything on my news squawk though when that came out. Here's one. Looking at LinkedIn, every company now seems to be full of Ivy League PhDs in STEM, competitive programmers, and IMO medalists. This is true even at startups. I have an Ivy League PhD as well, but this no longer stands out. Only 1 year left and can't find any internship. In fact, I don't even have a single interview. Now, some might ask, why don't you apply for a low-paying job? I can't because I am an international student. Worse yet, my research topic, game theory, doesn't seem to be valued highly in the job market. Exceptions are, of course, Google DeepMind, which I have no chance, pivoting to LeetCode now, which means I'll be competing against people 10 years younger than me. For the same position, LeetCoding at this age itself is a disadvantage. I will never be as good as those Chinese, Indian, Russian kids who have been training since they were 14. Somebody that would probably be eligible for an H-1B visa. How do people continue to have motivation to work at a job that they're being laid off from? Very few people actually do. Except for that sometimes that that time really is for you to like try and find a new job. So make use of it. Uh-oh, Trump claims he doesn't know who Binance founder is despite pardoning him. That actually doesn't surprise me. Just somebody said he should pardon him and he did it. Is there a way to see how many contracts your position is in the DOM? On the DOM? You know, I'm not sure if there is. I mean, the way that you really should do it is with the little order window thing, right? And in the like position window. But over here, I don't know. Because it will tell you where your position is from, but I don't know if there's one that tells you the number of orders. I would think that it would be the trade column, but yeah, I don't know. I honestly, I kind of feel like that's a little distracting. Like having the price column so that it tells you how much you're making at each price should tell you the main piece of information that you need to know. And the number of like, I guess one of the issues is this little, or what do they call it? Order window or whatever really is like trading settings. Really is like a necessary thing. Like if you're trading, you should have that open. Print the order position at the break-even point. I don't think that it includes it. Just sorting like why. Like it's because it seems like something that should have been thought of before, but I actually don't. I think that everybody just uses this, and you're the first person to think about that. That is what I'm saying. Here's an interesting one. Global industries producing the highest number of new billionaires between 2014 and 2024, according to the Wealth Report 2025. Manufacturing. So, millionaires in China is what it actually is, probably, huh? I don't know. I expected today to be bad, but it's been an hour and this is bad. Oh, yeah, I saw that. Okay, so Sam Altman was on a podcast and they asked him, how can a company with 13 billion in revenue make 1.4 trillion of spending commitments? And Sam Altman said, well, first, we're doing more revenue than that. And second, if you want to sell your shares, I'll find you a buyer. Was like exactly the wrong thing as an investor that I want to hear. Like, I can see why he would think that that's a clever response. Like, well, you know, if you don't want to hold it, but investors, any serious investor is watching that and saying, you completely skipped the question because you can't actually answer how you can make 1.4 trillion, you know. The truth is that you're just throwing stuff up at the wall and hoping that it'll stick. If that was me, I would absolutely sell shares over an answer like that. Although maybe it's a different thing when it's a privately held company, right? Like if I held shares of OpenAI right now, I would probably hold it until the IPO and sell it on the IPO. Maybe a little bit after the IPO. You might be locked in, like they might say employees can't sell for 3 months or something like that, right? But you look at it like the way they went with Reddit, right? Like there's a period where it's the hot thing and it does well, and then but I'm not sure that that's one that I want to hold for 5 to 10 years. Well, I think we've got a long week ahead of us, guys. What else do we have? Do we have any other major... I mean, given the government shutdown... But we should get the ISM numbers. We'll get ADP. We get a bunch of speakers. Consumer sentiment will still be released. So this is still the most economic data that we're going to get all month. Although I don't think that we'll get non-farms, will we? Largest trucking capacity purge in history is coming. Oh boy. Why? Because they're stopping people in California that aren't citizens from being truck drivers? Do you think the shutdown will end Thursday? What makes you think that it would end on Thursday? I haven't heard anything that would make me think it would end on Thursday. Bruce says that? Okay, well, I'm really skeptical. Unless it's because Republicans are going to make a carve out in the filibuster rules for continuing resolution. Oh. I mean, if he's just speculating that it's just for the elections and then they'll give up after the elections, I'm actually still skeptical of that. I think that you might be right in that it's one of the best opportunities that, like, there's some people that they really do want to keep it this way until the elections on Tuesday. And then when that's gone, they don't need to keep it and they can open it up. But I think there's still a bigger problem. I think that nobody is really incentivized to open it up. That these elections that we're getting this week, by the way, are going to be really interesting to analyze because, like, all of the polling that I've been seeing has been Democrats' poll numbers are the worst they've ever been. And they're getting worse. I don't know what the impact of the shutdown is on that. But in the elections, you might be able to sort some of that out. Because I think that there is probably a lot of people on the Democrat side that are very unhappy with the Democrat Party, but because they think that the Democrat Party should be further left or things like that, right? So how much of it is will incentivize Democrats to move to the center is kind of the question that I think that we're going to answer. Because up until now, the activists and the Democrat Party are saying, well, the problem is that you're not liberal enough, right? But if, for instance, somehow Mamdani were to lose, that would be like an earthquake to the Democrat Party, right? Like if he lost, that would be like kick Cortez out, right? Well, you can't kick her out, but basically stop listening to her, right? That's what would happen if that big of a shift were to happen, right? But that one's probably unlikely to happen. But you could see some things in the data that still kind of suggest that, right? By the way, let's come in here. Let's see here. I'm wondering, does Polymarket have a market on when the shutdown will end? Ah, they do. Okay, so they've got November 16 plus. Okay, because that's the highest one. Interesting. So Polymarket does not think that it will be resolved this week. Granted, I don't think the volume is really high enough to make huge conclusions off of that, so Polymarket seems fun. Yeah, if it wasn't... I was really disappointed when we had like some prediction markets like this, and they were either deemed not in accordance with regulations or just kind of fizzled. Because I think that there is a place for a prediction market like that, but it needs to be bigger. the poly market one, like one person could come in and dominate that whole market pretty easily. I'm just trying to see if I find anything about Ted Cruz, but I'm not seeing that yet. There was a day when I would come in and read Politico every day, and that website went downhill. But let's go over there and see if maybe there's that. Nope, not seeing much on that. There's a lot of stuff about the shutdown on Politico, but not about it ending. Sweet. Okay, so we do see the ES running now. Well, Zero Hedge has a news story up here about shutdown. Federal government shutdown entered its 34th day on Monday with no resolution in sight, though there were faint signs of movement among lawmakers seeking a way out from the impasse. The House has not been in session for 45 days yet. As the shutdown stretches on, the political stakes are mounting for both parties, with new polls showing Democrats gaining ground nationally and Republicans facing eroding public support. Oh, really? Okay. An NBC News poll released Sunday showed Democrats leading by 8 points on the generic congressional ballot, matching the advantage ahead of the 2018 midterms when they captured 40 seats and control of the House. Punchbowl News reports the survey comes exactly 1 year before the 2026 midterm elections. Maybe that's what it is that Trump is just worried about losing the House. Little evidence that negative impressions of Trump's performance have accrued to the benefit of the Democrat Party, and there's only a 2-point spread between R's and D's. Democrats leading. White House officials dismissed NBC's results as an outlier. Democrat Congressional Campaigns Committee own internal polling, which the outlet said it obtained earlier, found Democrats had by 4 points in battleground districts. I don't know, man. I'm still at, is public polling any useful at all anymore? Because the whole issue of being able to actually reach voters, because we don't have landlines anymore, and people actually picking up the phone and answering them, and the group of people that seem to be the most the difference in the elections in the recent past are the ones that are the least likely to answer the call. And ergo, I think that there is a fundamental issue with public polling, and that we have to be very skeptical about any conclusion that we make from public polling. I do think that things like, if we're seeing a trend like that Democrats' likability, favorability is so low, I think in it is a significant development, right? The Democrat Party seems to have a credibility problem amongst the voters. People either don't believe that they actually want to do what they say, or that they don't have the actual wherewithal to do what they say. Right? That's very clear. But like, in terms of like, how is the shutdown affecting the midterm elections? I don't know if you can actually really tell that very well from the public polling. And more so than that, I'm not sure if it really matters. Like, one of the things that I saw is a lot of people were touting polls that were like, you know, do you blame Republicans or Democrats more for the shot? I don't think that that matters right now. Not this time around. I received a big scary letter in the mail. Respond or else we will send a census person to come get the answers, and I ignored it. It was for a poll. Yeah, so I don't know. Anyways. By historical standards, midterm outlook is fine right now for GOP, probably, but like seeing the Dems plus 8 in the polling, that's very different from what we've been seeing. So that is something to take note of, although it probably is just an outlier. Online UG4HC. Welcome. Good morning. Of note, the NBC News poll sampled 41% Democrats and 39% Republicans, including lean Democrat, lean Republican responses with 15% independent. Well, that's not enough independents. While the Washington Post sampled about 30% Democrats, 30% Republicans, and 31% independents. That's more like what it should be. So not quite the level of thumbs on the scale in previous years. Meanwhile, President Donald Trump's approval rating continues to weigh heavily on Republicans. Washington Post, ABC News, Ipsos poll found 41% of Americans approve of his handling of the presidency, compared to 59% who disapprove. Among independents, only 30% approve, while 69% disapprove. On the economy, long seen as Trump's strongest issue, he fares worse, with 37% approving and 62% disapproving. The Trump economic numbers are in line with other recent polls. One report noted this is a serious, but yes, I think so too. The economy kind of sucks right now. I don't think it's just tariffs. That's the issue that I have with the narrative that I see out there. Tariffs aren't helping, but this started before tariffs. I also, again, there's a credibility problem. So even though Americans are unhappy with the way that the economy is going, that doesn't necessarily mean that they want to give it back to Democrats, because there was problems with the way Democrats were doing it too, right? Well, NBC survey found that 45% of Americans blame Republicans for the shutdown, with only 33% blaming Democrats. Senator John Fetterman of Pennsylvania placed blame for the shutdown directly on Democrats. Appearing on CNN's State of the Union Sunday, he said that Democrats really need to own the shutdown. I guess I did see that. Fundamentally, I'm deeply distressing that 42 million Americans are going to lose their SNAP benefits, and now that's one of the big reasons why I refuse to shut our government down, he said, calling Democrats' tactic of insisting on preserving pandemic-era Obamacare enhancements as a wrong tactic that will put 42 million Americans in the kinds of food insecurity. Yeah, and this is another one, is that I think that Democrats believe that what will happen here is people will go, oh, well, I need my health care, or I need my health care to be cheap. And they'll get really mad at Republicans for not extending the subsidies. And that even if the Democrats cave, everybody will see their healthcare plans go up and be upset at Republicans for their healthcare plans going up, right? The problem is, I think that's only going to work for people under the age of, like, let's say 35. Because everybody that was around and paying attention during the whole Obamacare thing is going to remember that Republicans at the time thought that it wasn't a good idea, that people were saying that Obamacare was destined to fail, etc., etc. And now all of a sudden we're finding out that, yeah, we're realizing rather that they've been subsidizing the cost of it, and that it's even more expensive and worse than we even realized, right? That's not necessarily going to make Republicans look bad. It's going to make Democrats and Obama look bad, is what I think. I think that you know, Obamacare really was, now you're getting into my opinion, but I feel that Obamacare really was a Trojan horse, that Democrats wanted it to fail because they thought that that would then increase the chances of them getting a socialized healthcare system, right? But I don't actually think that that's how it goes. Well, first of all, I think that Americans are just generally opposed to a socialized healthcare system. Like, if you go and you look at polling, they'll probably, like, if they say, do you approve of like a single payer healthcare system, yada, yada, yada? And people will say yes. But then when you go into the consequences of it, like the costs and the taxes and everything else, then people go, no, they don't want it. So I think it would be really hard to pass that anyways. And I think that people are going to go and say, no, like what we did was really bad. We shouldn't go further in that direction. We should go the other direction. Right? So this tactic that the Democrats are pursuing, I have some concerns about it for them. Let's see here. If we, the party that are fighting for working people now, as far as I'm aware, every single union that's involved in this is now demanding us to reopen. That's the side of it that I'm in, Fetterman continued. So it's not something I support of, and I don't want to be involved. We can find a way forward. We need to find a way forward, and we really need to achieve these kinds of tax credits. And this is something I support, but it's a wrong tactic. It was wrong when the Republicans did it. It's wrong now that we seem to be driving. Yeah, that's another thing that bothers me about it, is that how many people, you know what? So this is something that I tell you what, some quote unquote influencers in the financial space, or they're not in the financial space, they're like, they're just YouTubers, but they happen to be opining their opinions, even though they don't know anything about the politics, right? And I remember when it was a Republican shutdown, and them talking about how a shutdown is just completely unacceptable in all cases, and we should be changing the law to get rid of the shutdown, etc., 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 right? And now those influencers are completely silent when it's Democrats doing it. So I don't really care what those people have to say anymore. Whereas my opinion has always been, well, it's pretty much the only way that you have to force an issue now. Even though it's really not something you should mess with, and it doesn't seem to be very effective. Tuesday's off-year elections in New Jersey, Virginia, and California could influence the political narrative. Former Representative Abigail Spranger and Representative Mike Shemrill are favored in their gubernatorial races, though New Jersey remains tight. In California, Governor Gavin Newsom is leading the push for Proposition 50, a ballot measure allowing redistricting of up to 5 GOP seats. This would be a major plus for Democrats, one report said, noting that the initiative looks, quote, certain to pass. If Democrats sweep the 3 contests, they are likely to argue that voters are siding with them on the shutdown and the healthcare. A strong Republican showing, however, could allow the GOP to claim validation for its stance that Democrats' position is dangerous. Adding further complexity, a federal judge ruled Friday that the Trump administration must begin paying out supplemental nutrition assistance program benefits to states. Trump said it would be his honor to comply with the order. Do they have? Oh yeah, I was wondering about that one. Well, they're just gonna go with it, but doesn't that become a problem at some point? Oh well. Meanwhile, the president has renewed calls for Senate Republicans to eliminate the legislative filibuster. In a post over the weekend, he wrote, terminate the filibuster not just for the shutdown, but for everything else. Wow, he wants to go all the way. Republicans, be tough and smart. The Dems are crazed lunatics. They will not open up our country no matter how many people are irreparably harmed. They want to get rid of the filibuster and just go scorched earth past everything that they can. I don't know about that one, man. if they really got rid of the filibuster, it might not be like that right now, but probably the tendency would be for things to become more liberal. So I don't think that that's actually a tactic that you want to adopt as Republicans. Even though it is kind of like, well, maybe the Democrats will do it too. I guess probably they will. I don't know. Maybe the filibuster can't last. Okay, so it is time to start focusing in a little bit, huh? Because we are going to get those ISM numbers. What are we looking for? Oh, we did get the S&P manufacturing PMI, 52.5 versus an expected 52.2. But for ISM manufacturing PMI, we are looking for a reading of 49.5 versus a previous reading of 49.1. So they expect it to be better than last month's number, but still in contraction. If it was worse, I think that for it to be worse, it would have to be worse than last month's. Excuse me. Like if it was 49.1 again, which is what the previous month's was, I don't know if that would be a huge reaction. But if it was lower than that, then that would probably be a big reaction. Probably a plus for the treasuries here. Which might explain why there's a little tiny bit of buying here. Surely the little bit of buying probably is in anticipation of the ISM number. Also note that we will get prices paid and employment index. Employment index doesn't have a forecast attached to it. But since that's like one of the few places that we're going to be able to see employment numbers, that's going to be particularly important. Zian is currently respecting that magic line. Yes, it is. Well, it's doing what I don't know if I would say so much that it's respecting it as much as it is like they got to the line and then just nothing has happened. But we basically started the regular session at the line. So we moved to the overnight sessions, you know, volatility projected thresholds. And then the regular session has just been dead. If we had opened up closer to the overnight open, would there have been more movement? Maybe. Here's something pertinent to my interests from Andreas, who we did that interview with. Here's a guy, Axel Kaibar. Quantitative analysis is a fancy name given to technical analysis. Quant guys who are challenging / mocking technical analysts should go and deep dive into fundamentals of their trading systems. They will find the principles of technical analysis dating back to the 1900s. No, that's incorrect. But the problem is that what is technical analysis is actually debated itself. But what your typical like technical analysis going back to the 1900s, that's really not what quant guys are doing. Most quant guys. So here's what Andrea said. You're missing something very important here. Sure, much of quant finance has roots back to technical analysis, but to say that quant is a fancy name for TA is a massive misunderstanding. Quant finance is about taking a scientific approach, build hypotheses, test, observe, reevaluate. Technical analysis has valid points, but it also includes loony stuff like magical waves, numerology, astrology, and all kinds of wishful thinking. All too many are stuck using easily disproved and simplistic ideas from the 70s. There has always been a strain or resistance to change in the technical analysis community. It's really such a shame. Technical analysis has produced plenty of valuable ideas. They just failed to move on and failed to confront the scammers who dominate the field. I have a long background in the technical analysis field since the early 90s. Since before I ran quant hedge funds, I know a bit about both fields. If you think quant is a fancy name for TA, you probably misunderstand all. Oh man, this guy immediately starts going into support and resistance and trend lines, and that's like I'm immediately like, okay, well, you just don't know anything about what you're talking about. You think that support and resistance and trend lines are the way to go. Yeah, 99% of technical and analysts I've encountered in my career present with the clinical psychological affliction of apophenia. Apophenia, that's what it is, right? I should know how to pronounce this because this is something that we get into, right? The tendency to perceive meaningful connections between unrelated things. Ooh, we pushed up a little bit further. Actually, through the seller's inventory cost basis, we do have 24 above us. I think it would be difficult to get above 24 before the news. We should like organize a debate, you know? I think I don't know if I would be able to organize something that would be like in person, but we can get like the people that we like, Andreas. We should definitely have Delta Trend in there, that kid, because he's been like the primary like anti-ICT. You know, there's been lots of people that were anti-ICT, but he was the one that broke through. I really appreciate him for that. I mean, obviously I wish it was me, but I'm just so happy that somebody did break through and have success with that. Yeah, so we can have like those kinds of guys on one side, and then we can bring out like ICT for a debate. Wouldn't that be great? Can have who would I put on the other side, the people that I don't like? We have ICT. We have who's the big price action guy that everybody is always talking about? That he's like the oldest one on that. Gosh dang, what's his name? I'm embarrassed that I have forgotten this guy's name. Robocate. No. Al Brooks. We should have Al Brooks. We can have ICT, Al Brooks. And then who's this other charlatan that I argued with one time that I really, really like? His name is like Mike Brown or something, but he wrote a technical analysis book. And my head itches. I think I'm getting like a rash on the side of my head. I need to not touch it. It would just end a fight too fast. Maybe. Well, with ICT there, he probably would go unhinged, right? It wouldn't be a fair fight because I would be picking all of these people that are like deep into the data and the science of it on one side, and these other guys that, you know, really the reason that they've come down on the side that they have is because they don't really have the ability to do that deep of analysis. Like even Mike Brown, like he's done some programmatic testing, but I think that there's some big flaws in what he does. Okay, so here we go. 48.7, lower than its forecast. So that is the scenario I was concerned about, where it was lower than the previous months at 49.1. 48.7. So that is going to push us up. Probably at least to 27 is my guess. Okay, I think I'll take one there. If I'm as lucky. I want to see the ICT traders to compete in a trading challenge. You know, I bet you, man, there's so many different ways that you could do this. If you went and you said, let's take 1,000 ICT traders and put them against 1,000 traders trained by me, we would kick their ass so hard. It would be funny. You know what would happen? Here's what like if it was a team thing. So it's like ICT, he gets 100, 1,000's too many people. He gets 100 people, I get 100 people. Okay? And you know what I would tell them? Just don't put any trades on at all. Don't do anything. No trades. And just be zero through the whole competition, right? And then we'll do all of ICT's people, and probably about 60% of them will lose money through it, and we win. That's how that one would go. You know, and the bigger the sample size, probably the worse the ICT trader group would do. Right? Yeah. But if it was certain individual, you know, if it was like for instance, if it was me versus ICT, for instance, right? That would be a different issue because, well, I could probably still pull that off, but they are essentially kind of like taking on extreme risks, right? So they're going to have periods where they do really well. And I take such little risk. Mine is kind of like the opposite. I take such small risk that, you know, really probably should be taking more. So I would maybe have to adjust to doing something that is more risky to try and keep up, right? But I do think if I really put the effort into it, which I guess I kind of have the time to do that, but I'm spending my time with other things, that we could develop something, you know, like if we were doing that sort of a thing, but we were also including multiple instruments and stuff like that, and our kind of understanding of the market so that we could avoid the fat tails, maybe we could do okay with it. Although overall, I think that my issue would be that if I did a contest like that, I would probably be behind up until the point that they blew up, right? And it could be a year or 2 years before they blow up in some cases. So that's why, like, I've really have had periods of performance that I think are better than most of these people that are going out on social media and presenting themselves as these like guru traders and all that sort of thing. Periods that were both longer and like better. Like a lot of these guys, they'll have like a run of like 6 months, right? But when I have a run of 6 months, it's not just like, we made money. It's like we win almost every time and we make way more on our winners than our losers, right? So when we're doing well, it's amazing. Kind of depends on the market. But I say that the thing you really should be looking at if you're trying to judge, how good they are is like, how long have they been around? Like, you can show somebody a 1 year thing, but like, what does it look like over 5 years? Since it used to be, it's funny, we haven't looked at this in a while. It used to be that I'd say, well, I don't have a good 5-year record. But now it's been 5 years since COVID. So we're kind of getting into the period where it's like, I feel like we're our current way of doing things. And that looks pretty good. But a lot of it is interspersed with periods where I just didn't trade very much at all. So yeah, well, yeah, that's why ICT looks so ideal to new traders. Yeah. It really is like something I feel like is optimized towards the social media, right? So it has to appear to make money in the short term, and really, what is the word? It's really appealing to people that want to make a ton of money with little effort, right? And then you don't have to really buy anything. You don't have to buy an indicator or have a news squawk or put a whole lot of effort in on your own. You just have to be able to sit through ICT's videos. See? Whereas what happens over on our side is you watch my videos, it only takes you a few hours. You understand absolutely everything that it's talking about because it's just very, very dense content. And then you get to the end of it and you know everything. The mystique is gone. And it very often will just kill your desire to trade. Because once you know what it actually takes to be successful at this game, it's not so appealing anymore. Especially, it's like, once you know what it takes to be successful and what success actually looks like, which is not all that spectacular, you usually go, well, it's not worth it. Complete opposite, right? Oh, we've been around for a long time. And there's empirical evidence backing up. That's the other. Which is kind of what I was getting at. Is if you took these guys like Andreas, I would love to have like a real researcher like Jean-Philippe, and you put them against these trading gurus, it would just be an absolute slaughter, right? Oh, Goolsby is speaking. I'm not decided for what happens at the next Fed meeting. The threshold for cutting rates is higher than the last 2 Fed meetings. Okay, I think that that's fair, but I do think that they're going to cut again, to be honest with you. But that might be causing a little bit of the selling here. feel like this kind of shot in the dark trade that I'm taking is a little too, more risky than I like, but I need to be taking more risk. I think that going through this period of unemployment is changing my hormones and stuff and causing me to take more risks. I should be trying to work out more, but I've been like, oh no, because if like I work out and then I have to make dinner for the kids and stuff, but I could probably work out this week. But no, the focus this week is our trading platform. I think I've got. Oh, by the way, where do we want to take this one off? Does unemployment raise testosterone? I kind of feel like maybe it does. I think that feeling like your livelihood is at risk might increase testosterone, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Anyways, so on Friday, I did, yeah, like fasting does it too, yeah. On Friday, I did get the GUI element part that I was trying to test, which was, can I create a grid of elements? And I got like the most basic sort of thing there. So there are two things. It's so funny, having a file menu and having a grid. It's something that it took me. I had to go through 3 different frameworks to find something that was reasonable. Actually, there's 3 things. It needs a file menu, it needs a grid, and it needs to be able to like do raw GPU drawing. Which is why I ended up that last one was, once I kind of realized that's when I realized that I really do have to use eGUI. So I used eGUI, was able to find something that did the grid and everything. So now the next part is to actually do the drawing. So I think that what will happen is I'll make some, they make this little like triangle of different colors, for instance. So I think that we can just make something like that prints in every one of those cells. And then we would have to start working on data. But I don't think that immediately we would try and integrate it with Rhythmic or anything like that. I think instead what we would do first is integrate it with a public feed on daily data. Integrate it with a daily feed on a public feed on daily data, free one. And then I would go back and using that data make a chart. And once we got there, then I think that we could look at integrating it with actual, Rhythmic data or DX feed. At that point, also, it would be getting the Python stuff working so that, can you make a moving average in Python and it works and it displays all that sort of stuff. So there is probably a lot of work that can be then it opens up to, there's a lot of things that you could do, right? So that would be a really good basis. Then at that point, you would have a reason to try and hire people, increase development and stuff. So while I'm toying around with those other things, maybe that's where I would start to make a startup out of it, I guess. The thing is I don't really know what's involved in fundraising. I think that there are some networks of people I need to meet to go down that route. Well, Goolsby is still speaking. We had a little bit of a pop-up there, but they didn't fill. Guess if I had put it at 24, I would have filled, and then we'd be in a much better spot. But I'm making the bet that because of the ISM number, that we could reach the 27. So now the biggest impediment at this point to what we're doing, because I do think that we have overcome most of the technical issues, like, is this even possible? Are we using the right framework, etc., etc.? Can I figure it out? I think we've overcome all of those. So the biggest threat now is just me being able to stay locked in long enough, because it's hard. Unemployment is pretty exhausting, and it's hard to stay engaged. And then you get kids come in and they're like, we need to play Minecraft. I think I'm going to be working on trying to get more done early, because it seems like once they're home by like 3, that not as much work gets done. But we will stream until, because I took the trade. If we hadn't taken the trade, I might have been like, this is going nowhere, let's just end the stream. But by the way, was Goolsby on the calendar here? I don't think he was. He was not. Economy has been pretty strong with weakness in specific sectors. Like which, so like tech is bad, right? Finance is okay. They're not hurting, but they're not hiring. I think the only sector of the economy that's actually doing well is healthcare. And that's not necessarily a good thing. That's like our population is aging out now. It's happening. You know? Okay. So there was a little bit of pulling there. I'm a little bit concerned about our robots. Seem to be a little soft on the bid. Let's read about the report. Amid the month-long vacuum of macro data thanks to the shutdown, soft survey data has become almost the only leg left standing to judge the economy by, absent the housing data. Following better-than-expected prints across Europe and beats in Brazil and Canada, this morning's S&P Global U.S. Manufacturing PMI rose more than expected to 52.5, up from 52. That signaled a third successive month in the S&P 500. Global PMI is posted above the critical 50. Zero change mark. I'm going to skip around here. They're not talking about ISM. But, as usual in the battle with the BS world, ISM's U.S. manufacturing PMI missed expectations, falling from 49.1 to 48.7, worse than the 49.5 expected. The 8th straight month of contraction, being below 50. U.S. manufacturers report A solid start to the fourth quarter with production rising at an increased rate in response to an encouragingly robust jump in new orders, according to Chris Williamson, chief business economist at S&P Global Market Intelligence. However, lift the hood and the picture is not so healthy. Most worrying is the unprecedented rise in unsold stock reported in October, widely linked to weaker than anticipated sales to customers, especially in export markets, which could trigger a downshifting of production in the coming months unless demand revives. Indeed, ISM shows prices falling fast and new orders and employment improving month over month. The year of prices paid for raw materials fell 3.9 points to 58, the lowest since the start of the year. Since a recent peak in April during the height of the tariffs rollout, the price gauge has dropped nearly 12 points. Companies have also become less optimistic about the year ahead, with sentiment back down close to gloomy levels seen around the April tariff announcements. U.S. trade policy uncertainties are again a big factor in dampening business spirits, with tariff policies being increasingly blamed on both rising export losses and import supply chain disruptions. These export and import worries are being exacerbated by more domestically focused political concerns, including the federal shutdown, which are manifesting themselves most prominently in consumer-focused industries. Tariffs remained a key source of higher input costs during October, with S&P Global's latest data showing another round of historically elevated inflation, a bit the lowest since February. Selling prices were raised markedly in response and to a quicker degree than September's recent low. Finally, Williamson notes business confidence among producers of consumer goods is now down to its lowest for 2 years as firms grow increasingly worried about household spending in the U.S. and falling sales to consumers in export markets. Okay, so kind of what I expected, but it is like the number is worse than expected. So is that enough to continue pushing us up? I don't know. I haven't heard any more stuff from the news squawk about Goolsby, so maybe he's done. Okay, well, that's an okay-ish uptick. Okay, they are able to get over 2,000, but only briefly. So that gives me a little bit of hope, but it's probably not yet. Probably going to play with the 24 a little bit more. Here's the moment John McCain betrayed Americans and locked us into the healthcare cost crisis we have today. Yeah. It was such an, and here's Jim Iorio. It was such an odd moment in that the reason was completely evident. John McCain wanted to give Trump a loss regardless of the fallout. He chose vendetta over the good of the country. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I kind of feel like that the moment was when Obamacare was passed in the first place. Because once it was passed in the first place, you knew that ripping it out was going to be difficult no matter what. Okay, so they're playing with the bottom side now. This one's a little bit different though. They're kind of holding it out like it looks weak, and it seems like they might be having a little bit of difficulty convincing people to get involved. So that's a little bit concerning. It doesn't necessarily mean that like it's a strike against us moving up, but it's just a strike against us moving at all, which is kind of in contradiction of the thesis. Well, let's see. They're going to test this, huh? You're wondering, the second contract I picked up at a good spot, and I just wish I had picked up both at that spot. Speaker Johnson's speaking to reporters now. I also wonder if that's all the reaction you can get off of an ISM report. That also seems a little bit concerning to me, no? Oh, you know what? We need to roll over our 10-year new contract. And why? Oh, we don't have it. I'm gonna have to refresh our data here. Now we need X. Better. House Speaker Mike Johnson says there are legal impediments to SNAP funds. This is where I was saying that, like, well, the judge ordered them to do that, but I don't know if that necessarily means that they can actually do it. It says must recalculate partial payments to SNAP recipients.
Block buy.
Okay, so that's interesting. There was a big block buy in there, but they didn't clear it. Do you think that was, there actually is a big buyer out there that's kind of been lurking? Or is that like a robot just kind of screwed up and is trapped now? I was very odd. I really was not expecting an iceberg there. Then downtick. Like there was a big buy there, but they're kind of, I think right now the market is going, oh, well, a big buyer came through and just ran into a wall. So maybe the seller is bigger. But we'll see. When something like that happens, they often still want to test the iceberg, right? Like they want to clear through that iceberg first and see that the seller is done before they. I'm worried though. I haven't seen so much buying since that. Oh, they're pulling the offer. Hearing more of those clicks. More clicks today than there's been, huh? Okay. So it does tick up. Took 67. Not a strong bid. The 5-year not tick up. Actually, neither the 5 nor the 30 ticked up. That's curious. Is that just because I need to recenter? Now it looks like the ZN is going back and forth across 23.5, and neither ZF or ZB are doing the same. And instead, you're getting the low resting liquidity signs at 23.5, which we've been here for a while already, so it's kind of. We've already kind of been in, like, maybe there's a liquidity. I hadn't seen it until now, the, like, really low latent liquidity, but we have just been stuck in this ever since the news, essentially, for the last 30 minutes now. 30 minutes, wow. Okay, so you're getting some clicking because the 5-year moved. Where are those clicking at? Maybe we could put the demarket down. Oh, you know, when we were talking about, hey, you know, like we can put the 2-year up and all that, we could totally just put the market depth pace over there. Okay, so it's 2 away. So it's actually. Oh, it is at the 24.5. Interesting. It is this offer at 24.5 is where you're seeing the clicking. That's interesting. I kind of thought that it was maybe going to be these orders at 22. But we are seeing a little bit of liquidity stack through this. So I actually think we might be in a situation that's a little counterintuitive, like it looks like it's stuck. But I do think that this will probably make another move because there does appear to be big players getting involved here. Financial Juices sending out alerts saying unusual activity in the cryptoverse. Oh, they're getting slaughtered. They're getting slaughtered. Look at Bitcoin there. Oi. Okay. Interesting. That's usually not like a significant point, but it helps a little bit. I think if we got another move up, there might be a little bit of steepening with it, so we should keep an eye on this 5-year here. So, I don't think that the S&P 500 are reacting, or rather reacted very strongly to the ISM number, but they have been pretty much just selfed since the open. Or it's not. Let's pull up a chart here. Okay, so it's not significant yet. They're getting to similar areas to where they had sold the past 2 days. Now Goolsby was speaking, so that's one factor in here, but I don't know if that's like a determining factor. Coming in here in the treasuries, we did see some signs of big players. But we're down a tick now, and some of those, well, like at 22, before we were like 6,500 contracts, now we're 58. So that's not like a huge change, but that is a slight change there. And I'm seeing like way more on the offer, right? You got 2 levels that are above 6. So, the moment they're kind of showing like they might want to break the bottom of this range. Overall, I'm not seeing a major shift in cumulative delta. Kind of almost looks to me like maybe there was enough front running of the news, and that's why we've kind of been stuck. It's like they front run it, and then those guys that were in for the news, they are just taking profits. And maybe they got all of the profits that they could, and that's why they kind of have to sell it down a little bit now. That take at 22.5 was pretty ugly. How long has it been? Well, we're kind of getting to the point where it's hard for me to justify keeping it on based on how long it's been. Okay, is there another iceberg at 22.5? 27, I don't think that's too significant. That stack at 23, though, is not pulling away. That's interesting. Think that they can hit it? No. Ooh. That looks cool. I don't know if that's so much a large meta order selling, though, as much as it is that the market maker is trying to pressure the buyers and squeeze us out. Because I'm not seeing like a really significant change in cumulative delta still. Like look at this market order imbalance here. It's pretty middle of the line. Middle of the road, rather. Goolsby is more concerned about inflation than the labor market. I think Goolsby more than anybody else. I like Bill is like his opinion is always based on political, you know? Like he was so unreasonably dovish during the whole like we were having inflation thing. He was like the most dovish. And now you're concerned about inflation. Uh-huh. Okay. Okay. Also interesting that his comments were right after the news. I don't think that that's suspicious or anything. It's just interesting. It wasn't listed. It must have been on CNBC or something. If he hadn't been speaking, would we be a little bit higher? There's a case that we could make the case, maybe, yeah. Although, again, the total volume here isn't too much. There was like a little bit of selling that brought us down to the bottom of the range, and now I'm seeing it come back out. So that this is in line with my theory that that actually was more market maker shenanigans than it was a large seller. Oof, actually. So that little change that I'm seeing. Let's see, come over here. This little change that we're seeing right there is actually only about 2,000 or 3,000 contracts. So I might be speaking too early. You had to go early. Well, thank you for sticking around, April. We got like what? We'll stay for 20 minutes. So I'm kind of thinking here, like I have kind of come to the position that I'm probably taking a loss on this. And it's just a question of like how much will I get some of it back here? I think I would be a little bit surprised if we just like plummeted to 20 before the top of the hour. I think what's more likely to happen is we stay here, or I might recover 23.5. And then after we're gone, maybe there'll be another push, you know? Now, if we think that that's what's going to happen, we could stick around. But no, I want to program. I want to get like really, really deep into the program. Well, actually, the first thing is I should do some applications. I think there was at least one that I saw that I could apply to. So. Another thing I should note here is that since we came down to 22.5, it's been relatively healthy. Like, I think this offer has stayed above 2,000 the whole time. Same with the bid. Like, the orders there aren't necessarily failing. Okay. Finally got, oh, that's interesting. So we finally got an uptick there. And it only took 1,300 contracts to do it. So this doesn't mean that it's going to hold. It's like the bid's not super great, right? But it's just kind of funny. It had been stubborn all that time, and then in the end it picked up on 1,300 contracts. Okay. That's not necessarily the best action for trading. I think I should have had the original take profit there at 24. I would have gotten hit. Then during all of that downside, I maybe could have even had it. I don't think I would have, because I want to get out. Wow. What's this story? From the New York Post. Hundreds of thousands of New Yorkers are prepared to bolt from the Big Apple if socialist candidate Zohan Mamdani wins Tuesday's mayoral race, potentially setting the stage for the largest population flight in U.S. history, an alarming new poll warned on Monday. Around 765,000 people of the 8.4 million residents who call New York City home are preparing to leave, with about 9% of New Yorkers sharing that they would definitely leave the city if Mamdani is elected the 111th mayor. The Daily Mail reported. If those residents were to leave, it would be equal to the population of Washington, D.C., Las Vegas, or Seattle fleeing the city. Holy crap. Seriously. That is crazy. Among high earners, 70% of those making over $250,000 a year said they would definitely flee. Poll results highlighted widespread unease about the 34-year-old assemblyman taking over City Hall, warning that mass departure could have severe economic consequences nationwide. Don't like that downtick. If anywhere near that number actually left, the economic impact would be seismic, pollster James Johnson told the outlet. Older New Yorkers, Staten Islanders, and white voters are the most likely to say they would pack up and go. When asked to sum up what Mamdani's New York would look like, respondents called it a disaster. Hell, and cover your ears, kids, a shithole, he added. Men were more likely than women to say they'd leave. 12% of men and 7% of women say they're sure to move, with roughly a quarter of each group considering it. Voters ages 50 to 64 showed the strongest desire to flee, with 12% certain and 33% weighing a move, according to the poll. By race, 13% of New Yorkers and 11% of white New Yorkers and 11% of Asian residents said they would definitely leave. Staten Island voters led the stampede with 21% saying they'd go and another 54% considering it. In Manhattan, 6% said they'd flee and 20% are unsure. Brooklyn, it's 8 and 18. The Carolinas, Florida, and Tennessee have emerged as top escape destinations thanks to lower income taxes and property taxes. Well, I think Uzi is in the right place, man. It seems like Florida is the new cool spot. At least 1.9 million voters are expected to vote in the race. Blah, 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 blah. However, the latest Real Clear Politics average still puts Mamdani comfortably ahead by 14.5% points, keeping him firmly on track to become New York City's next mayor. So, today's trade is, I think, pretty in line with the kind of action that I hate the most and I've struggled with the most in the past. This is kind of a slow grind. It goes nowhere, and then you get 3 or 4 ticks the wrong way, and that's too much for me, and I give up on it. And if I'm forced to bail out here, I don't know if it's going to get worse. They're at the bottom end of the range again. So, it's entirely possible I get out, and then after we go, Treasuries push higher. It does kind of feel, though, that there was 2 big players that exchanged hands there, and then we went nowhere, and the market maker is kind of jostling things around, trying to even that out. Also, does appear to me that the seller is maybe slightly in advantage, even though I'm not seeing the market orders coming in. So, not good signs for our trade. You know what? I'm hearing kids, so maybe it's just time for me to go. I'm just gonna leave it here and just to see, but for the sake of the stream, let's just assume that I stopped that at -4. Okay. I ain't going. I will see you guys tomorrow. In the meantime, stay